Well, welcome everybody. We are live with Ray Tyler of Rose Creek Farms. Welcome, Ray.
Great to be here, guys. Good to see you, Michael.
Absolutely. And we will have folks joining us here. Typically, it takes Facebook like 30 seconds to catch up. YouTube is way faster. I'm not sure why that is, but we're super glad to have you guys all on here and give us a heads up of where you are listening from. And if you have questions for Ray, go ahead, start typing those up right in the chat. Just let us know what those are. We'll ask for those again in a little bit here. But it's great to see you guys joining us. And we're so excited that you're joining us on day one of the summit. So yeah, go ahead, fire away. Ray, unfortunately, I don't know if you can go to the chat. It may be just me that can enter the chat, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
it's okay.
But I wish I could figure out how to
as long as you're keeping track.
Yes. Yeah. We'll do that. All right. Cool. Well, Ray, give us a little bit of a little bit of overview. You talked in the summit about how you've been starting to do a little bit more of the this live streaming events thing is throwing me off in there, but cool.
Hey, Howard.
So yeah, it's good to see you. Oh, Howard, good to see you. But yeah, give us a little bit of an overview of what got you down the start thinking about value added on your farm.
Yeah. So what really started? It's just started to pour on my yurt. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Anyways, so what kind of started was one, we've been historically, I would say, half, maybe 3/4 wholesale. And of course, COVID really disrupted a lot of that. And then we kind of got back into it a little bit. But then I really started to think that the wholesale game is pretty exhausting to keep up with. It's a moving target. It's really hard to foresee what they're going to want and, collecting money. And so I thought there's got to be an easier way to, as everyone knows, it's always easier to sell more to an existing customer than get a new customer. That's not just in farming. That goes to any business industry, I would say probably globally. So we started to get a lot of requests because we obviously are known in the South as the salad king. So we do a lot of salads, probably a third. The others are mixed veggies. And so we started to get a lot of requests for prepared salads. I would say started to really happen around the middle of 2021, I would say. And so we started to kind of dabble with dressings because we thought, hey, people already buying a lot of lettuce. Ashley's got this great dressing. Why don't we start with that? So we did that, and that just exploded, right? So they're already grabbing salad, head lettuce, just so easy to grab that dressing. So that once we saw the consistency, how people were really appreciating that kind of value-added product of an ingredient that we use in our family's meals every single day. And that's kind of the key point, right? So we're only selling things that our family would eat on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So in this past summer, we started doing some a garden pre-made, and within a few weeks, people were buying 5 of these salads, which I haven't asked yet, but what I presume as their weekly salads, right? There's a lot in there. They started doing veggie trays. So what we essentially did was, I kind of go back. We were gonna add another farmers market because our production on 1 acre, I would say we probably had a 25% increase of production this past spring. And so we were going to add another farmers market, but as everyone knows, farmers markets are a lot of work. You got to have someone who can get up, set up. It takes another truck. It takes another trailer. There's a lot of infrastructure involved. And so we thought, hey, why don't we just really focus on value added and let's see how this goes. So that really exploded. And we essentially were able to add, I would say, a couple $1,000s to our existing market without having to go to another place or get another wholesaler, simply by turning in what we're already growing into a convenient packaged meal that really gave the consumer value, and that is time, right? Everyone knows you can make more money. You can buy another house, you can buy more cars, but it's very hard to buy more time. So what we decided to do was, let's take a product that we're already producing. We worked really, really hard to produce. We're really good at it. How can we give our farm more value by giving our customers more value? And what we found is, if we can save our customers time, they will pay us handsomely for that transaction. And so we've really gone into that. All right, let's try and save our customers time. Let's sell more to an existing customer. So instead of, I think we kind of, on average, we've been able to increase our customer average sale about $5 to $10. It does fluctuate seasonally. But that was really a game changer for us. Now we've since added that on our on-farm store, which made perfect sense, online and our markets. So this really was more of a pursuit of, again, wanting to get out of the wholesale game, and we didn't want to have to add a second farmers market, and just really focused on turning into a raw product that we're already producing into something that was going to save our customer time.
Yeah. So actually, Ray, and now that you're saying this, you've got me thinking. You basically just told me, okay, we wanted to get out of the wholesale game. We thought about, how can we up our income and also cut a farmer's market. And I want to go look at, we have a chart that we keep track of our wholesale sales every week. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look at how much money I would have to replace and wholesale sales of course it completely logged me out of everything I'm in right now for some reason. But I'm going to go in here and look, because I think I'd be pleasantly surprised to figure out exactly, what I'm, actually making in wholesale, and how much extra work that is, and how that easily that can be replaced by adding a couple more additional value-added crops.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with what I found was selecting the right product. Because here's the problem that I think is that I've sold to several markets: Memphis, Jackson, Tennessee, which is an hour north. I've sold to Corinth, Mississippi, Franklin, now some other small obscure markets that are all different. So you really have to kind of know what your customer wants and what they're willing to pay for, right? And so that's been another thing. But like, for instance, basil for pesto, we grow in a very hot climate. If you keep basil covered in a tunnel, you keep the rain off of it, we can grow basil, right? So it's one of these crops that we want to grow a lot more because it's very, very profitable. But we can only sell so much raw basil to a client. We found out that they were simply buying basil to make pesto from. So we thought, hey, we're getting asked all the time, hey, can I use this for pesto? Absolutely. So we made pesto. It's pretty easy to do. And we were able to, I think we were able to triple our income on that basil simply by turning that into pesto. So we went from selling, a pound of basil a week at a market to like 15 pounds. But that's just a kind of example of just taking one herb that you can grow a lot of and turning that into a product that people already are making themselves. Save them that time. You're giving them value by saving time, and you're extracting more financial dollars for your farm and team.
So so I'm looking here at our wholesale amounts, and I would not have to sell that many. How much are you selling your salads for, Ray? Those salads.
Those garden salads, we sell them for like $15. They're about a quarter pound of lettuce plus a bunch of other veggies that are seasonal.
Yeah.
And it does take us, this microwave. It does take a good amount of time because we're essentially plating that to look really, really nice, right? We're not just throwing it in there and mixing it up. We're really making it sell. That is to a market that's 3 hours away. On our farm store, we can sell that for 10. Again, it does take some time, so that needs you need to make sure that you have the time to do that. And then 2, you got to figure out, does your customer want it, and are they willing to pay you for that extra time in preparing that salad?
So I would have to sell. I'm just looking at my average wholesale. We sell to a grocery store that loves to talk about their deep commitment to local farmers, and then buy 2 cases of lettuce per store. So I wouldn't have to sell that many salads to replace my entire wholesale and pesto. It's not that much work. And I would say our wholesale is the highest stress for our team because we've produced some very specific items for them. So we could just probably cut that completely and just focus on these beautiful salads, and it would pick up a whole nother demographic. Because I think one thing that people have to realize is that there's only a certain amount of people that are going to buy, a $10 thing of microgreens or a big bag of salad.
That's right.
But people, if they see a prepared salad, they're going, oh my gosh. So it's really interesting. I look at, we're in a local community group, and again, we love our community, but our community is very blue collar, and to them, a iceberg salad is one of the better ways to go in life.
Right.
And again, so if we were to create some sort of prepared salad, I wouldn't do iceberg, but we probably would maybe pick one of those more crunchy lettuces for them. I bet we could sell a fair amount of those pretty easily. And it's going to pick up a whole nother demographic that would never buy from us because they're just not going to buy a big bag of lettuce. Ray, we've got a bunch of different questions here in the comments.
I've seen that.
So why don't we pick up with Howard's, because Howard's got a great point. But
great question.
Tennessee changed the law for you guys.
Yes. So, all right. So Tennessee passed the Food Freedom Act over the summer, which really lifted a lot of the pressure from farmers. So it's, Bill Lee, who's the governor, a small kind of story. So he was a vendor at this farmer's market. When he got elected governor, that opened up a spot, and I was able to take his spot. So he's a pro farmer. I know, it was really amazing how that happened.
The spot at your farmer's market was
crazy. So he is very pro agriculture, really pushing it, because he came from that farmer's market scene. He has a lot of empathy for a lot of these small scale farmers. He's a farmer himself, sold at the farmer's market for, I think, 15 years or so. So he really gets it. Now, so there's a lot more freedom for small growers. However, if it's shelf stable, there's a lot more. You can basically sell direct to consumer. You still can't sell to a grocery store unless you have a certified kitchen and a food processing license. And that's mainly because all grocery stores want that for their own liability's sake. But if you're going to sell off the farm or sell to a farmer's market, there's a lot less laws and restrictions. However, if you want to do things like boiled eggs or a Caesar salad, you want to have, grilled chicken, you do need to have basically you need to have a food manufacturer's license. So and I think that the same thing would go with, like, we're now doing a ranch dressing. We're now doing vegetable stock. We're about to add 30 new value-added products by mid-2023. So we are going through the process, even though we probably wouldn't need to for locally. But because I don't want, we're going to go pretty hard. I want to see how far I can go with this from our farm. So I am now working with the state to get a Tennessee food processing license, which would allow us to make anything we want to and sell to anybody in the state. Now,
Yeah.
if we wanted to cross state lines, we would have to get the FDA involved. But the Department of Agriculture in Tennessee is very pro farmer value added. They're on board with the governor. So there's a lot of good, healthy support. So I've got a lot of folks kind of with me. We're in that process now. They think it'll take us about 2 weeks to get that license. I think it's going to cost me, because I have a very small space, it's going to cost $50 to get that license.
That's awesome.
Now, again, that's because my facility is so small, right? If that was a big warehouse, then it would be thousands. But they're really making it as easy as possible for the small scale farmer, because we are producing the majority of the products that we want to, turn to value add.
Yeah. Ohio was
So I think that is the one thing that's going to vary from state to state.
Yeah.
Some states are going to be very pro value add, and some just are not.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And so I would recommend reaching out. Like if you have a good university extension, start with there, or your state ag. I started with calling my nearest city. Their restaurant kitchen inspectors, and he kind of helped kind of steer me the rest of the way with the state and the Department of Agriculture here. So from what I can tell, with everyone who's involved with this process, it's going to be really easy. I'm going to have systems, which I already have anyways. It's going to be really easy to do. We will see in 2 weeks how easy it really is. But everyone is saying it's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to cleanable, washable walls, 3-bay sink for wash, sanitize, rinse, and then just closing the whole thing up. Access to a bathroom. It doesn't have to be an actual bathroom in it. It has to be access to a bathroom. And it's you don't even need a floor in the drain. That's one of those things. So here's the other thing I think a lot of people need to pay attention to is the standards. And I've got the page sitting over here somewhere. Yeah, it's right here actually, because we're in the process of doing this ourselves. Is a lot of this is adequate precautions, in a condition. There is no like black and white. And it comes down to the inspector. The inspector is supposed to interpret the rules for your operation. So the less you tell this inspector that, like, oh, if you say, I'm going to be processing 1,000 pounds of sauerkraut a day and I'm going to have 16 people in here, they are going to be a stickler for every single thing. But if you tell them, you know what, we're just doing some small batches for a little farmer's market, me and my wife, you're going to get a lot different of a conversation. So
that's right.
Don't try to blow the inspector out of the water with all these amazing ideas. Keep it super simple. Get started, get going. As you scale, bring them back in. If you feel like you really need to go another whole level, that's, I think, my best advice, because I have seen people get completely screwed by those innocent questions. And to the point, Ray, again, people may disagree with this, but when I was talking to my state inspector, I used a non-farm email and a non-farm address. Because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have inspectors swarming or just to stop by and see how you guys and what your guys are doing. I wanted to make sure that there was a very definite conversation. Now, once we obviously get the kitchen in, we'll invite the inspector out here, but it wasn't something I just wanted, them just to pop and by all the time.
And one thing I was going to say, I think Howard asked, we were GAP certified at one time. We landed this massive wholesale account that needed us to be GAP certified. We did it. It was not that hard. It's very easy. We did let it lapse just because we decided not to go the wholesale route. We could easily get it back. It's just, I don't want to, that's just more paperwork and money I don't want to spend. We are now certified organic. We did get that certification officially. One thing I was going to say about relationships with your state, and also kind of Michael is, and I learned this a lot with Gap, is don't ask them questions. Let them ask you questions, right? If it's a yes and no question, most, in my experience with the U.S. federal and the state, and I'm on both over past poultry back in 2014. And that is,
sorry, Ray, we're losing.
if it's a yes and no,
you want
can
to
you hear me now?
I can hear you back again. You want to just repeat that little bit that you said there?
I will. So back in 2014, we got into a federal and a state battle over pastured poultry, which we ended up winning. But what I learned with that is if you ask a yes and no question to a federal or a state agent, most likely they're not going to know the answer. And if they don't know the answer, they're going to say no. So I've always approached of like, you go, hey, this is what I need. And it's up to them to ask you the questions so they can get you certified. Also, another thing I would say is I feel like treating government officials, and I understand how, nobody wants the government on their property, but treating them with respect and kindness can go a long ways. I'll always say, hey, I just want to make sure, we're in compliance and that we don't get any trouble. I just say, I'm ignorant. I'm a small scale farmer. I don't have intentions of being a Tyson. And so just kind of being where, and then I always kind of, when you meet them in person, small talk as far as like ask them about their family, be a human. And I found that basic kindness, humility, and not being a hard, rude, stubborn person can really go a long ways. I always say, honey over vinegar, right? Slay them with kindness and you'll get much, much better results.
I agree with you, Ray. We just always tell them we do CC our lawyer on all correspondence.
Yep.
Again, we are very kind to our local officials and everything, but they do know that we are not going to roll over, that they're going to have to cross the T's and dot their I's. We're not just going to do something on a whim. But you're absolutely right, is that you are not a pissed off inspector is literally your worst nightmare.
You don't want that.
No, they will find something and then if they can, they will shut you down.
Yes.
And
they will shut you down.
Have so much leeway. They absolutely have so much leeway. One of our former farm managers here was, she ran an entire, basically a very high production restaurant. And she had to have the inspections all the time. And she said, none of the restaurants ever get perfect marks. They always have problems. And it always comes down to how you treat that inspector.
Yep.
It's
really true.
Yeah. Organic question is, how hard is it? It's not super hard. It's getting easier every single year because the program keeps getting watered down. Ray, did you go for any additional, let's say, like real organic inspections?
So we're in the process of that. I'm actually been reaching out to them and have gotten no response yet.
Oh, interesting.
They reached out to us last year. They wanted us to join the program, but we had to be certified organic first.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, they are now a sponsor of our podcast and everything. So super excited to have them on board. But and they said, are you going to get certified organic? And I says, well, to me, it doesn't mean a whole lot. I said, if I got certified organic, I would get real certified organic the next day, because that to me is really way more of an actual certification with teeth. And I just love the work that they're doing. That they're
100%. I think it's beautiful. Yep. The reason why we did that was because of inflation. We were not able to raise prices. I just wanted to raise 50 cents a dollar, just a little bit, right? Because we give our employees, our team members, pay raises every year. And with the cost of inflation we do very, very well. But we really started to see our bottom line. I mean, our packaging tripled in price, right? Gas was triple in price. And at some point, my wife does the finances. She's like, hey, we're fine now, but if we don't raise our prices, we're going to have some issues down the road. And so what I found is that people were willing to pay more for certified, but non-certified. So it didn't matter how we were growing it. They were willing to pay for that sticker. And here's the thing. The customer dictates the market. The market's the market. You can complain all you want to why people aren't buying your product for the price you want. But at the end of the day, I just went, hey, I'm here for the customers, and they want to know that we're certified organic. That's what we're going to do. When we first started farming, we would tell people that we're organic back in the 2009, 2010, 11. That would deter people away, right? They would walk away. So we stopped using that word. Again, we're in McNairy County, right? The third poorest county in the state. Now we travel to people who want certified organic produce, and that's kind of what we came up to was our customers were begging us to get that certification for trust. We're getting a massive influx of people from New York, Michigan, and California, those three states. And that's I mean, basically everything up there in those three main states is certified organic.
Yeah.
And so for them, it's a trust issue. I get it. I completely understand. And so we went with it. It was not hard. We changed none of our growing practices. We simply, and I was order keeping, we keep records of every input seed. So all I had to do was print out our data sheet. It was very, very easy to do.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's that trust issue, and they just want to see that little round circle. Yeah.
So I was going to say thing to Heidi. So Heidi, you cannot use the word organic on the website. In fact, I had someone help touch up my Shopify page a year and a half ago, and the word organic got in there somehow. And I told them no word organic. Well, a farmer in Memphis, about two hours away, saw it and complained to a federal agent who's on the main lady for the USDA organic. So she reached out and said, hey, we're going to have some problems if you do not remove this word. So the USDA does not scour for this. What they do is they're just waiting for someone to complain. So if you have someone who's envious of you or doesn't like you or just simply loves to find problems, because there's lots of people out there like that, then you will indeed, and listen, you do not want to mess with them. They'll come for you and destroy your farm. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
They mean business. Like when they own that word organic, and they'll come take your farm.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I've talked to obviously Elliot a few different times. We've talked about that whole aspect of when they decided, okay, we should actually bring the federal government into this. And I would wonder if you went back to the people that were making those decisions and say, do you think this was a good idea? Because of what they've done to the label. Yeah. So a great question here I saw earlier, and I didn't want to lose it here, is there is a resource that tells who to contact for each permit type per state. We do we have a guide someplace that walks you through that. I'm not exactly sure in what thing it is. I'm sure Heidi, who's on our team, can get that back to me of where it is. I think we have it in our All Access Pass or in one of our other resources, but we do have something that's state by state. Yeah, and it may just be a link someplace that let me see if I can get it. Guys, make sure you keep on the same lives and stuff we've got. Ask that question again. I'll go back to my team. I'm sure one of the team is on here listening. But the other question, though, that I wanted to pull was from, I think it's Lena. When you figure out the pricing, how do you assume your raw veggies at a wholesale price, and then do you add on extra labor? How do you work that?
Okay, great idea. So how we do this is all my labor is $25 an hour, right? So that's how that's priced out. So now not every, I've got kids like Ahava, she's 12. She's not getting paid $25 an hour. but it does take her time and she gets distracted, right? So how we do this, we go, okay, let's just say we're making 50 salad dressings today. And it took Ahava, 1 hour to do that. Now, it probably takes someone who's getting $25 an hour, 30 minutes. But I base it on our slowest, newest person, right, at $25 an hour. Because mistakes, they get made. Maybe something has to be paused, or farming is not a perfect operation, right? But generally speaking, we need to have a $25 an hour mark for that product. Then right now we're working our pricing as retail, because I want another farmer's market, not a wholesaler, right? So we're going for retail price. And so that's how we're doing that currently. Now that may change. We're still building this business model up. But I'm approaching it is a second business. So I'm treating it as a second business. So our current name of our value add is Ashley's Kitchen. These are all Ashley's recipes. So Ashley's Kitchen is going to place wholesale order to Rose Creek Farms, if that makes sense. And so Monday morning, I go in, I place an order to Ashley's Kitchen market. Ashley's Kitchen will be like, okay, 50 veggie platters, 25 salads, 100 dressings, whatever that is. And then I have a whole template where you punch in the number of items you want, and it will spit out a calculation of how many pounds of celery, tomato, salad mix. It's very, very fast. Then my pack shed manager, or soon to be value added manager, because that's a whole separate business now, because it does take a good bit of time to make sure all that's organized. They'll then get that master list to my farm manager to make sure that gets harvested. So it's treated as a wholesale client. There's a deadline. It needs to be harvested. It needs to be washed and given to Ashley's Kitchen Company by a certain time. But Rose Creek Farms is charging Ashley's Kitchen retail price for that product. Then I price it out to where Ashley's Kitchen is making at least 30% profit.
Yeah, it's margin on top of that. Yeah.
Right.
So
now it could be a bigger margin, but I want the farm, because farm is that's where all the work, that's my highest paid team members is the farm. That's where my skilled labor is farming. And so I want the farm to make money. But Ashley's Kitchen does need to make a profit. He's making no less than 30% profit, because it's got to invest in different products and upgrade, equipment and all those things. So that's how we're doing that right now. I'm not saying that's how you should do it, but that's how I'm pricing my product.
Yeah. So that's the same way we do with our value added, because again, and especially our new wellness brand, Farmstead Wellness, is because it buys retail prices from Farm on Central, sells it to the other company. That other company does its own things. Now, I need to start running separate books. Right now, it's just running it as a class in our booking right now, but it needs to be completely separate books.
Yes.
Because that's all, by itself there. But if you look, Jessica Hall, I think she's going to be on again tonight, but she was definitely on last night. And her store is everything she's doing is value added. So her entire company is just one label. She has a separate supply company, which is completely separate. It does produce things in that floral space, but not like flowers and bouquets and wreaths and all that kind of stuff. But her whole business is just one, because all it is complete value added. She's not selling really any raw product, as it were. So,
that's a great question, Michael. I want to interrupt from Liz about mentioned that your farmers market was 3 hours away. Is that just the closest market, or is that a busier, more profitable market as you can justify the drive time? So I would say it is the best managed market within a 3-hour drive. There is closer markets, and there was a market 40 minutes away that was managed just as good, if not better, as of 5 years ago. but that market manager retired, and it's just been a plummet dumpster fire since. We are going to attempt to go back because they've got a new manager, and I think we've known since day one 10 years ago, and I think they'll actually let us help them with some of the marketing and organization. And so I think Ash is going to kind of start helping them with that. It is closer. But here's the thing. When it comes to marketing, if you want to be in business, a lot of people complain about not making money. And the reason why they don't make money farming is because they are not willing to do what it takes to get sales. It's a sales game. If you're a farmer, you want to make money, you need to think about, what do I have to do to make the sale? And you do whatever it takes. So when I go drive, I would rather drive 3 hours. I can make $16,000 in a couple hours on a Saturday morning versus drive 40 minutes and maybe make $1,000. You tell me what you would do. I know for me, I get in that van, me and my kids, and we're going to go for a drive, right? We're going to put on audiobooks and podcasts, and we're going to have a good time. And so that's, for us, it's a family event. My 2 girls go with me. It's their market. They're fired up, excited about it. It gives them a chance to get away from their younger, annoying brothers. Right now, it's not bad. But again, if you're within a 3-hour driving distance from a big city, or not a big city, because actually the main Nashville farmers market that's by the downtown hub, like the biggest one in the state, is poorly run. It's one of the worst ones. So it's not about the city. It's about the manager who runs it, because they're good about making sure they have the right vendors, and they're really good about having events that draw people there, and they're really good about consistency, being there at rain, snow, heat, whatever the case is, it's going to be open. So in my experience, it's all about the market management.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is there's a lot of money in that city. Michael knows. It's Franklin. There's a lot of money.
It is the richest suburb of Nashville. And there are some, that's where all the country music stars live.
Right.
A tremendous
all
amount
the
of
Christian music artists too.
Yeah.
All the guys from King Country, that they go to that market all the time. I've seen Michael, they're all there.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's plenty of money there. They're willing to pay for it, and you're capitalizing on it. And it took you years though to get to where you are at that market. Remember when you first started going to that market, and you're like, Michael, it's just such a not doing well. And we don't have much space, but you kept at it because you knew the potential. You knew what it could become. And you now are reaping the rewards of that long.
Yeah. So like the first year we almost quit because we were only, I think tops was like $800 a week, which was brutal. But this is what I know about any kind of business. Consistency, reliability, and the long game wins, right? So you can't show up a few times and go, oh, it didn't work, give up. So I knew the people were there. I could see them, but what I saw was they did not have any trust in us yet. And that's fine. Like, we have to earn it. And so what happened is we were there one whole year, never missed a market. It wouldn't matter if it was snow, ice. I would be there 5 or 6 hours before to make sure that we were fine. We did whatever it took. And now we're 1 acre, but we're right up there with these 100-acre farms in terms of gross sales. So, but again, it was not a glamorous. Michael visited us a few times, and he was like, "Man, Ray, you should be doing a lot better than what you are." And he's right. But it just took us being there for the long game, and we, a few things happened, and we were just very reliable. I remember one time there was already someone who sells lettuce there 52 weeks a year, and he had a crop failure for about 2 months in the summertime, and we cleaned house.
Yeah.
And since
Yeah.
then, we've just been printing money.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ray, I know you got to run. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing. You have some other education, your education at Small Farms for Big Change. Is that where folks should go if they want to learn more about all the things you do?
Yep. Yeah. So, Michael, can I just go there and share a screen really quick?
Yes. Yep, go for
All
it.
right. All right. So,
I think you should be able to share your screen.
Yep. Can you see this?
No, let me see if I have to give you something. Do you want me to go to a specific URL? I can go to a URL
Yeah,
for you.
just go to Small Farms Big Change.
Okay. All right, here we go. Share screen. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. So this is my education site. We launched early this year. If you scroll down, I used to do a lot of on-farm workshops. The last one I did was 2017. So we've released 2 for January. I've got a living farm course. I do coaching calls, online workshops, all that stuff. On my living farm course, I do basically coaching calls every Friday evening. In fact, in about 1 hour, I'm doing my one where I'm basically just really helping people with their weekly problems and a lot of what we're doing here, right? Answering questions. Usually I have a presentation. Like tonight, I'm doing one about preventing pests, right? So making sure we're getting into that winter time where aphids could be a problem. So really just want to make sure everybody who I'm really, my passion is just really more of a mentorship, helping people with a long game in farming, right? Whether they're a sales problem, if they want to scale, if they want to start. And so, yeah, that's really my passion. So aside from farming, raising 6 kids, this is kind of really a true passion side project of mine.
Yes.
Yeah. Really appreciate you guys joining here. I think Michael's got an amazing program for you guys. Highly, highly recommend you guys sticking around. Again, knowledge education is powerful. There's, I mean, a lot of what's lacking in today's society is good education. But remember, education is nothing without execution. So my encouragement for you guys to leave with one thing, and that is whatever you've learned, whatever you feel like you should do for the 2023 season, don't just plan for it, do it. And find out don't just tell yourself you can't. Ask the question, what do I have to do to make my goals and dreams a reality, and execute? Anyways, thanks, Michael, for having me on. You guys have a great evening. And again, Michael has put together a absolute gold mine of an event for you guys. So you guys enjoy, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the future.
All right, Ray, thank you so much again. And your talk today got lots of comments. I saw that just before I popped on, and I was rolling through all the comments people left. So they loved your stuff. And Ray's a great guy. So go follow him over there. And your Instagram is killer too. That's Rose Creek Farms on Instagram, right?
Yep. Up there. Yep. And we just had a mini doc released today, so you can go check it out as well.
Yes, I watched that earlier. That was beautiful. And is that available on your website? Right on top
that
of your
is
website?
available on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, just go to that link and post that in there. And so yep. So
all right, I'll drop it in the comments here. I'll find that and drop that in the comments here. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ray. Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys. Bye.